When we map the future, we naturally visualize a tree. The present acts as a central node, extending outward into multiple branching paths. This model is useful because it represents a physical reality. At any given moment, the current state of the world permits several distinct future developments. We can express these permitted futures mathematically as the possibility field, written as pi of w and t. It catalogs every outcome compatible with a specific world state at a specific time. But plotting futures this way conceals a dangerous assumption. Because multiple destinations remain physically possible on the map, the architecture of the tree makes them appear equally available for selection. This diagram illustrates the standard branching model, mapping a present state to futures A, B, and C. By displaying these options as branches, the model collapses two distinct questions. What futures does the world permit, and which can an actor actually reach? A future can remain physically possible even after the specific conditions to reach it disappear. The physical persistence of a possibility does not mean it remains available to you. Therefore, the first step in rigorous systems analysis is separating the objective conditions of the world from the specific capacity of an actor to navigate them. We have to divide the map into two distinct metrics. The first is physical feasibility. This simply confirms that a specific future remains compatible with the current mechanics of the physical world. The second metric is actionability. This measures the actual capacity to reach that feasible future from a precise, localized position within the system. The rule governing these metrics is absolute. Physical persistence of a possibility does not guarantee the persistence of an option. A branch may exist on the board. The physics of the world may still permit it. But your specific pathway to it can sever instantly, leaving the possibility intact but entirely unavailable for action. The strategic question is not which branch we choose. The first question is whether a possible branch is an option at all. Reaching a possible future requires a precise alignment of variables. At minimum, action requires the physical feasibility of the goal and enough gathered knowledge, the authority to decide, and the material capacity to execute the decision. Action is only possible when all of these requirements coexist. We call this strict temporal overlap the actionability window. Looking at the second panel of our schematic, actionability sits strictly within the relational conditions bridging actor and destination. These conditions operate on independent clocks. Resources may outlast authority, or proximity might expire before acquiring information. They do not end in unison. The moment this fragile overlap fails, the window closes. The future remains physically possible, but it is instantly rendered inaccessible. Of all these variables, knowledge is the most unstable, because gathering it requires active operation. Knowing whether a future is reachable demands observation to produce information, interpretation to create meaning, and evaluation to inform a final decision. The paradox is that none of these operations occur outside of time. While you analyze whether a possibility is actionable, the physical world continues changing. Time spent interpreting options directly consumes the temporal conditions required to act. You are acquiring data about a changing field while using up the precise overlap of time, capital, and execution capacity needed to strike. And the observer is inside the clock. Because acquiring knowledge depends on an actor's specific epistemic position and processing speed, actionability cannot logically exist as a fixed property of the future itself. If actionability relies on the limits of the observer, we must formally discard the idea that an option is just a node on a tree. An option is an accessible relation between actor and future. The future is one endpoint, the actor the other. Action exists strictly in their connection. We define this relational model mathematically as O, representing the option. It is a function of P, the possible future, A, the actor, T, the temporal position, and C, the specific access conditions. This notation forces us to bind every option to the specific constraints of the actor trying to reach it. Possibility belongs to the world, an option belongs to a relation. To see how this alters strategy, imagine a physical environment shared by two different entities, actor alpha and actor beta, both looking at possible futures A, B, and C. Under our new model, Asking what options exist in this environment is mathematically incomplete. You have to ask options for whom. This maps the shared possibility field at time 1. Alpha and beta exist where futures A, B, and C are physically feasible, yet beta lacks the resources to access A and B. Therefore, a shared possibility field does not equal a shared option field. Analyzing a competitive system by looking only at the objective futures it permits, without mapping the specific relational access of each actor, produces a dangerously inaccurate strategic picture. Furthermore, these relational lines are subject to time. They are entirely dynamic. Expanding this diagram downward, we observe the evolving topology. Relations strengthen, weaken, or dissolve completely. Notice the destinations. Futures A, B, and C remain physically unchanged on the right. It is the relational access on the left that completely reorganizes. We describe this structure as an accessibility topology. It maps a reality where the edges connecting us to the future have their own independent histories. This topological view solves a critical problem in how we measure agency. Imagine actor alpha and actor beta both arrive at future B. If we observe only the final outcome, it appears they analyzed the board and made the exact same choice. But the structures preceding that outcome reveal a different reality. Alpha selected B from a robust array of actionable futures. For beta, the path to B was simply the only surviving relation. What appears externally as a difference in choice is frequently just a difference in structural access to possibility.